Hi, Dr. Pat here. We're now doing the second part of this. We're doing scalar multiplication. So scalar multiplication on matrices. What does that mean? So basically, if you were the emperor of the whole universe, what would you want to do if you had a number multiplying a matrix? What would you want to do? Well, it kind of makes sense. I'm not sure, but a lot of my students in the class kind of thinks it makes sense to take this 2 and to distribute, to multiply each of the elements of the matrix, all these numbers, the 3, 6, 7, 4, just to go ahead and multiply them by 2. And yes, that is correct. We're going to take the 2 multiplied by 3 and put the answer in the first row, first column section spot. We're going to take that 2 times that 6 and put 12 right there in the first row, second column spot. We're going to take that 2 times 7 and put that 14 in the second row, first column spot. And then the 2 times 4, we're going to put the 8 in the second row, second column. We multiply the number and we put the result in the corresponding spot. That's how difficult, that's how challenging it is for scalar multiplication. Not so bad. Now let's see if it makes sense in the real world. Here I've got my sales for my lattes or my coffee shacks at 3 different locations, and I'm just looking at 3 of my drinks. And I want to say, hey, January was a great month. It is basically double the sales of November. What would my chart look like? How do I get the chart that way? And what we would do, hopefully you all realize, is I would take each of the numbers in my chart here and I would multiply each of those numbers by 2 and put the result in the appropriate spot. I'm not changing any of the spots around, no movement here, just taking each of the numbers and multiplying by 2. So what was Americano in Linwood becomes, what used to be 29, becomes 58 in January. I'm doubling each of these numbers and putting them in the appropriate spot. And so it makes sense for our charts. Okay, and so notation-wise, we would just say 2S. So S would be the name of my chart, my matrix, and that would be, I'll just use sales, and then I would multiply that by 2. And that's how we'd indicate that. Now, let's take a look at these 2 charts. Are these the same charts? If you'll notice, it's all about the heading. What I have here is I have 3 rows here, and I've got my lattes, mochas, Americanos. I got the type of drink listed here in the row heading, and then in the column heading, I've got my locations. Then when we go to the second chart here, I've switched that order around. I now have my lattes, mochas, and Americanos, my coffees listed as the column heading, and then I now have my locations listed in the row heading. The numbers still match. For what was lattes at Linwood becomes Linwood lattes. Kind of different. It's just kind of different, the same, but I still get 128. The Americanos at Everett are now Everett Americanos, still 47. So basically what has happened is each of these numbers, this number 234 right here, it's in the 2-1 spot, remember? It's in the second row, first column spot. When you move it, when we make a chart like this, what we're doing is we're moving it out of the second row, first column, and we're going to take that 234 and put it in the first row, second column. The rows and columns get switched. And when we do that in a chart, we call that transposition. Okay, and algebraically listing that, it's S to the T power. And so that's what we have. Transposition. It's basically changing the rows and columns around to make a slightly different matrix. The data itself is still the same. It's just the way we order them. And we're going to need that, or it's a valuable tool when we need it for a later on concept is when we start multiplying matrices together. So think of this as something, as a tool that we could use later. Okay, so that's basically scalar multiplication. It's transposition. We know how to add matrices. In the next video, we'll actually do some matrix algebra and to kind of just play with these things. Thanks. I hope this was helpful. Have a good day.